Hey everyone, welcome back. So I want to talk about this situation where Pope Leo XIV just met with the female Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally. She was just recently installed as the new Archbishop of the Anglican Communion, which caused, quite a stir, as you can imagine. The Anglicans already had women bishops, but this is the first time that a female has sat on the episcopal see of the Archbishop of Canterbury, a see created by the Pope nearly 1,500 years ago, roughly, where the Pope sent Augustine of Canterbury to evangelize the British people and establish an episcopal throne there. And ever since then, of course, a male has sat on that throne as a successor. And now that has changed because the king has chosen for her to occupy that episcopal see. And so a lot of people are frustrated, upset. There's a lot of Anglicans who have left the Anglican communion and are no longer in communion with Canterbury. Some have come to the Catholic Church. Those who have come to the Catholic Church are probably going to be very uncomfortable with what has occurred yesterday, where the Pope not only met with her but has a joint prayer service with her, where she co-pilots the prayer service, midday prayer, along with the Pope, and even offers a blessing at the end. But not only is there the situation with this joint prayer service, but there's also his letter that he gave to her yesterday, which I want to read to you now. Address of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV on the occasion of the visit of the Archbishop of Canterbury. So already the letter starts out by recognizing that she's an archbishop and the Archbishop of Canterbury. Something that is going to be very difficult to make sense of in light of two things in Catholicism. Number one, Catholicism teaches that Anglicans, for quite some time now, have invalid orders. Unless they have some kind of succession through the old Catholics, their orders are invalid and null, and therefore they don't have valid priests or bishops. But it also teaches an ordinatio sacerdotalis, and Pope John Paul II uses what appears to be infallible language, and he does say it's an infallible teaching that women cannot be ordained to the priesthood, and that would then include the episcopate. So women can't be bishops, and this is something that can't change according to the Pope. So it makes no sense for now the Vatican to come out and address her as an archbishop, because it's in violation of these two elements in Catholicism. But it starts out, Your Grace, peace be with all of you. Your Grace is how you address archbishops. And so once again, it sounds like it's in some way contradicting the official position on paper. Now, some might say, well, they're just being polite. I'll address that here in a moment. But he talks about divisions between Catholics and Anglicans, Pope Leo does. And he says, I know the Anglican communion is facing many of the same questions as the Catholic Church. Nevertheless, we must not allow these continuing challenges to prevent us from using every possible opportunity to proclaim Christ to the world together. As my beloved predecessor, Pope Francis, said to the primates of the Anglican communion in 2024, it would be a scandal if, due to our divisions, we did not fulfill our common vocation to make Christ known. He says, for my part, I add that it would also be a scandal if we did not continue to work towards overcoming our differences, no matter how intractable they may appear. So for him, he's saying the big scandal here is not that there are differences, not that there is a schism, not that there's a difference between women's ordination and the Catholic Church and Anglicans. The biggest scandal here is that there hasn't been an accomplishment of overcoming these differences. So the push here is towards unity, communion, resolving differences. And here's the part that really, I think most people missed. They're not reporting. They're not telling people. They're frankly just not being honest with people about what the Pope said, because what they're just saying is, hey, look, the Pope says there's differences here between Catholics and Anglicans, and they just kind of leave it at that. But they fail to mention how he concludes the letter. He says, "Your grace, in thanking you for your visit today, I pray that the same Holy Spirit will remain with you always, making you fruitful in the service to which you have been called." The service to which you have been called. So this is effectively him acknowledging her ministry as a Archbishop of Canterbury, which again makes no sense in light of, number one, his predecessor in name, right? And in the episcopal throne, Leo the 13th said Anglican orders are invalid. But also, his predecessor, John Paul II, said women can't be ordained. It's impossible to ordain women. But here he's saying, may the Holy Spirit help you in accomplishing and being fruitful in the service to which you've been called. Now, who calls God, or who calls people to service? Well, it would be God, right? So this is effectively an acknowledgement of her ministry. I don't know how else to read this. And if there are other ways to read it, well, that's embarrassing, because things should be clear, right? They shouldn't be ambiguous and open to multiple interpretations, because that would be disingenuous. But it's clear he's recognizing her ministry. He's going along with it. And not only that, but as I, have to unfortunately say, he has this prayer service with her and basically treats her as if she is really a bishop. Now, if I were to walk in there and put on a cardinal's hat and say, I'm a cardinal, and start leading a prayer service with Pope Leo, would he accept that? Of course not. He would say, I'm not validly ordained, and, I'm not really a cardinal. Oh, okay. All right, well, what about her? Why indulge this? Now, some people are going to say, well, here's the thing. Okay, maybe on paper, the church doesn't accept these things, but in practice, the reason why the church is using this language is just to simply be polite. That just doesn't work. Because I'll say this, if Satan comes to you and presents himself as God, are you going to be polite and just say, yeah, okay, sure. Thank you so much for your divine blessings that you've given me today? Is that what you're going to tell Satan? Of course not. You're not going to feed into his delusion, right? Nor should you. Now, is Sarah Mullally Satan? No, of course not. Obviously, there's a difference here, but the analogy holds insofar as the point is you don't enforce people in their delusions. You stand by your convictions and you stand by your doctrine. Otherwise, what's the purpose of having the doctrine? So if now female archbishops are treated as validly ordained, there's really no point in Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, what John Paul II said, what Leo the 13th said. There's no point in any of these things because it's already approved in practice. And if it's approved in practice, that's just effectively a way to undo the doctrine without saying we don't hold to the doctrine anymore. So to me, I find this to be the real scandal. The scandal is not overcoming differences. The real scandal is pretending that this is an archbishop when the church teaches otherwise, going along with it, going along with prayer services, things like that. And what's even more shocking and perhaps even more scandalous is the lack of reaction here. I don't know what has happened in Catholicism. There's not even a whimper, not even a whisper, not even a word of objection anymore. I don't see anybody saying anything, nobody objecting. So this is really what it's come to in the church, that nobody's going to say anything. I find that to be odd. I don't know, 100 years ago, I would imagine every single Catholic would have stood up and raised Cain and have, would have objected. There would be absolute, complete fallouts everywhere. There would be a massive amount of dissent. There would be a massive amount of objections to this kind of behavior from the Pope on down. There would be nothing but objections from the Pope on down. Now it seems like nobody cares anymore. So it's either accepted or people are indifferent. I don't know what that means, but I can't pretend that I'm not watching that happen. And so that's pretty shocking to me. But anyways, I wanted to keep you up to date on this situation. And if there's any further developments while she is in Rome, I will keep you up to date on that as well. So if you want to be in tune with further updates, make sure to hit the subscribe button. That's going to do it for now. We'll see you later.